In this lesson, we'll continue to build out the wheels for our car while talking about object ghosting and the Polycap tool. So picking up directly where we left off with the last lesson, and the first thing I want to do is hide these primitive numbers here so we have a little bit better view of the wheel assembly that we're building out. Let's take a look at our work so far here. And if we look here at the back side, I notice a couple of problems right off the bat. Number one, it appears that we have some sort of twisting going on. And also the back of our brake assembly here is completely open. Like it's not sealed off. You can see inside of it. We need to have a sealed piece of geometry here to work with. However, it's difficult for me to see exactly how this twisting is occurring here because of this other ghosted geometry that's in the way. Well, I'm going to show you how to fix that. Houdini offers several different viewing modes that are dependent upon where you're at inside of the network view over here. These modes are adjustable using the fourth icon over on the top toolbar of the Scene View tab. So it's this icon right here. Now, right now we're set to Ghost Other Objects. And what that means is that we're at the Circle Object 1 level. If we go up a level, back to our scene root, and just for clarity here, I'm going to rename this Wheel Assembly. All right, so if we dive into the concept car, you'll notice that the wheel assembly object is now ghosted, but we see the concept car at a fully shaded value. Now, the other modes that we have to work with here are Show All Objects, and Show All Objects basically ignores that ghosting property. So regardless of what level you're at, like currently we're working inside of the concept car level, but we can still see the wheel assembly at completely 100% shaded. Now, we don't have the ability to select anything on it. Like you can see here, I can pick faces and lines, but not on the wheel assembly. So it can get a little bit confusing using this mode of Show All. Now, the other option where we want to work is called Hide Other Objects. And what Hide Other Objects does, just like you would assume, if I dive inside of the concept car, I now no longer see the wheel assembly at all. Now, it hasn't been deleted, removed, or modified in any way. It's just not visible to me in the viewport, allowing me to clearly and cleanly work on the other geometry in the scene. We, however, want to work on the wheel assembly, so I'll now dive inside the wheel assembly. And you can see now with the concept car geometry hidden, it's much easier to see kind of what's going on here. So what looks like has happened is, remember when we talked about how the extrude works, is that it duplicates whatever geometry you have selected, offsets it somehow from its original position, and then fills in the gap with other geometry. Well, it looks like somewhere in this series of poly extrudes that we made, our initial face that we had got spun around a little bit. Now, Houdini offers a very easy workflow for trying to solve things like this. Because of its procedural nature, all that you need to do here is to move your display flag from the very last poly extrude and just slowly work your way back, and you can kind of see where the mistake was made. So we'll come back one more. Right here, we haven't made that move yet, so everything looks good. Let's come down one more, and here's where the twisting occurs. So we know that we have something we need to change on this particular node in the tree. Let's look at the parameters view and see what all we've got going on here. So yes, it appears that there is some rotation that's been added to that particular face as a part of the extrude. Now, I probably did that by accident when we were demoing one of the tools, but there's a very easy way to fix it. Remember, all we have to do to set things back to their defaults is make sure that the name of what it is we want to return to defaults is highlighted in that lighter gray. We right-click and come down to Revert to Defaults. As soon as we do, we'll see that the rotate values in X, Y, and Z are all three taken back to 0, and we've cleaned up the position of that extruded face. Now, the cool thing about this is, because we're working in this node tree in this procedural fashion, that change will be propagated through the rest of our decisions that we made here with the poly extrude. So the rest of the faces are now completely lined up, and we've made that correction. So we were able to come back in the middle of the chain and non-destructively make a correction that still propagates all the way through to the bottom of the network. Very cool. Next, we'll use the Polycap tool here to close off the back piece of our geometry. Oops, I had that selected there when I went to move. I can just hit Control Z and it'll take that change back to where it was. So I'm just going to rotate around to the back here, and we're going to use the Polycap tool. Only this time, instead of getting to it via the tool menu or the tab menu, I want to point out that certain tools, not all tools, but some tools actually have a shelf button that you can use to execute the tool. This time we're going to use the shelf button for the Polycap. Now it's located here in the Polygon tab. So it goes Create, Modify, Model, and then the Polygon tab. And it's about the, what is that, 6th or 7th, I guess, 8th one over is the Polycap tool. So I'm just going to click on that. And I want to point out Houdini really is helping you. It really gives you a lot of hints and tips and tricks as you move through the interface. So I engaged the Polycap tool by clicking on it. And here at the bottom of the scene view is this blue line of text that says, select a boundary edge for each hole to cap and press Enter to complete. So it's basically telling me what I need to do to use this tool. Basically what I want to do is select this outer ring of edges. Like this complete loop around is what I want to grab. Now if you remember when we were working on the cockpit area of the concept car, the trick for selecting edge loops is to hold down the A key on your keyboard and then middle click on any one of those edges. So that's what I did, and when I did, you can see that those edges are now highlighted in yellow, indicating that I have all of them selected. So I've selected my boundary edge, and now all I need to do is press Enter to complete. So I'll just press Enter on the keyboard, and the Polycap tool is, the node is automatically laid down for me here in the network, and it's automatically connected to my previous Poly Extrude. And notice here in the group area that the edges that have been selected are indicated here, and they're numbered. Just like all faces, edges and points and everything else have unique numbers. And you can turn those on here to see exactly how things are being executed if you'd like. So for now, I'm just going to turn those number indicators off. So there, I have a Polycap. I've fixed the little twist that we had, and we've discussed how ghosting works and how it can be handy while you're working on geometry. In the next lesson, we'll start to take a quick look at expressions and how they can help us while we're polygon modeling out the tire and wheel.